The first time I heard the crowd scream, I thought someone had been hit by a car, but it was worse brown water bubbling up through the storm drains, spreading across a shiny premium parking lot like a nasty tide. Madison Klein, the HOA president, was still smiling into a microphone when the smell hit. Then her face folded like paper in the rain. And when the county inspector stepped through the chaos with a clipboard and a deputy right behind him, Madison finally realized the one thing she never bothered to check: who actually owned the land under her little empire. 5 years. That's how long I'd been gone working overseas on a contract that paid well enough to finally build my dream, a small workshop on a piece of property I bought before Brookview ever got fancy. I'd pictured coming home, rolling up my sleeves, and doing something honest with my hands again. Not walking into a neighborhood that looked like it had been dipped in beige paint and fed a steady diet of rules. I pulled into Brookview on a cold Tuesday morning with coffee in one hand and that stupid, hopeful feeling in my chest, like maybe life was about to snap back into place. Then I turned the corner onto Oak Ridge Drive, and my stomach dropped. Because where my empty lot used to be, where I'd left nothing but grass, a few stubborn weeds, and a no trespassing sign, there was a paved parking lot with a gate keypad, cameras, and a giant sign that said Premium Parking Brookview HOA. It wasn't just paved either. It was packed. SUVs, luxury sedans, a couple of trucks with chrome rims that cost more than my first car, all lined up like this was a private airport lounge for people who thought turning on a leaf blower was manual labor. I sat there in my car staring, blinking like my eyes were lying to me. And I did what any sane person would do. I drove up to the gate and got out. A woman in a neon safety vest waved at me like I was the problem. "Sir," she said, like she had practiced the word in front of a mirror, "this is HOA property, residents only." I actually laughed. Just a little. A dry, disbelieving sound. "No," I said, "this is my property." She stared at me, then pointed at the sign like it was a legal document. "Take it up with the board." So I did. The board office was a temporary trailer near the clubhouse, one of those places that always smells like printer ink, cheap perfume, and power trips. Inside, Madison Klein sat behind a desk with a shiny nameplate that screamed president, like she'd earned it in combat. She was in her late 40s, perfect blonde hair, perfect nails, perfect smile that never reached her eyes. I said, "Hi, I'm Ethan Parker. I own the lot on Oak Ridge. You built a parking lot on it." Madison didn't even look up at first. She tapped on her phone like I was a spam call in human form. Then she lifted her eyes slowly and gave me this tiny little laugh. "Oh," she said, "you're back." That right there, that two-word sentence, told me everything. "You knew," I said. Madison shrugged. "We assumed you abandoned it. The community needed parking. We improved the space. You should be thanking us." I pulled out a folder, deed copy, parcel map, tax records, everything neat and clean because I'm not new to paperwork. I slid it across the desk. "This isn't a misunderstanding," I said, keeping my voice calm. "It's trespassing. It's theft. And it ends today." She glanced at the papers like they were menus. Then she pushed them back with one finger. Our attorney reviewed all that she said. "The Homeowners Association has lawful possession, adverse possession. Look it up." I stared at her. "You're telling me you lawfully took private property because I was working overseas?" Madison smiled, sweet, poisonous. "Don't get emotional, Ethan. This is business." Business. That's what she called it. Later I found out what she meant. They were charging $75 a month per parking spot. And with the lot full, that was thousands of dollars rolling in every single month, using my land like an ATM they didn't need a PIN for. I went to the next board meeting because I figured, okay, maybe this is just Madison being Madison. Maybe the other board members don't even know. That was my first mistake. The meeting room was filled with residents holding little paper agendas like this was a book club instead of a miniature government. Madison stood at the front, smiling and waving the way politicians do when they're about to lie to your face. I raised my hand. "Question," I said. "When was the neighborhood given authority to build a commercial parking lot on private land?" The room went quiet. Madison didn't blink. She just tilted her head and said, "We have documentation that Mr. Parker's lot was abandoned for years. The Homeowners Association acted in the best interest of the community." I said I paid taxes on it. "Every year. I have proof." Madison turned to the crowd and sighed like I was exhausting her. "Some people come back and think they can disrupt everything," she said. "We have rules. We have order. Then she did something that still makes my jaw tighten when I think about it. She snapped her fingers at the security guy by the door, and suddenly I'm being escorted out of a meeting in a neighborhood I used to live in, like I was the threat. 2 days later, a deputy showed up at my door. He was polite, professional, the kind of guy who looks like he'd rather be anywhere else. "Mr. Parker," he said, "I am here to serve you a temporary no trespass order." I blinked. On my own land. He didn't argue. He just handed me the paper. 50 feet. That was the magic number. I was ordered to stay 50 feet away from the parking lot, my parking lot, until the HOA's property claim could be reviewed. I closed the door and just stood there. My hands were shaking not from fear, but from that hot kind of anger that doesn't know where to go. I'd been gone 5 years trying to build a future, and in the time I was away, a woman with a clipboard and a title had decided my life was a convenient piece of real estate. That night I sat at my kitchen table with the deed in front of me and the no trespass order beside it. And I did the thing I hate admitting. I doubted myself. I stared at the paperwork and thought, what if I'm missing something? What if I really did screw up by leaving? What if this is going to drag on for years and I'm going to burn through my savings just to prove I'm not crazy? There was a moment, just a moment, where I considered walking away. Selling the lot. Taking the loss. Starting over somewhere that didn't come with laminated rules and people who called the police when you breathed wrong. Then I thought about Madison's smile, that smug casual certainty, and something in me hardened. If she was that comfortable, it meant she'd done this before. Maybe not to this extent, but enough to believe she was untouchable. So I stopped trying to argue with her, and I started looking for the edges of the system she'd been leaning on. I went to the county records office the next morning. I asked for every permit, every variance, every easement map tied to Oak Ridge. And that's when I found the first crack. The parking lot wasn't just built on my land. It was built over a utility easement, an access corridor the electric company needed to reach a transformer and underground lines that serviced half the neighborhood. Meaning Madison didn't just take my property. She built her cash machine on top of infrastructure she had no legal right to touch. I made a call. The electric company didn't send a customer service rep. They sent a supervisor. Linda Price showed up in a hard hat, stepped out of her truck, and walked the perimeter with a face that said she'd seen a lot of nonsense, but this was a special flavor. "You're telling me they blocked our access," she said, "and they've been charging residents to park on it." "That's exactly what I'm telling you," I said. Linda looked at the gate, the cameras, the shiny new asphalt. Then she looked at me. "Oh," she said, "they're going to love this." Around the same time, an older woman from 2 houses down, Evelyn Harper, knocked on my door. She held a plate of cookies like this was a neighborly visit, but her eyes were sharp. "I heard Madison's telling people you're a drifter," she said, "that you came back to scam the neighborhood." I let out a bitter laugh. "Sounds about right." Evelyn leaned in and lowered her voice. "I used to do bookkeeping," she said. "And I can tell you, when someone gets that confident, it's because they're hiding something." 2 days later, I got a message from a guy named Kevin Park, former HOA treasurer. We met at a diner off the highway because he didn't want to be seen near the neighborhood. He slid an envelope across the table. Inside were printouts, financial records, bank statements, parking revenue line items that didn't match the budget Madison bragged about at meetings. They told residents the money was for community improvements, Kevin said. But the numbers, they don't go where she says they go. I didn't even feel satisfaction yet. I felt sick, because it wasn't just my land she stole. It was the residents' trust, too. That's when I hired a lawyer, Rachel Carter, someone who didn't flinch when I laid the whole thing out. Rachel listened, took notes, then looked up and said, "We're not going to win by shouting at Madison in a meeting." I said, "Trust me, I'm done shouting." Rachel nodded. "Good. We're going to win by making her answer to everyone she's been dodging." And that's exactly what we did. We filed with the county for illegal construction. We notified the electric company about the blocked easement. We requested a financial audit under the association bylaws. We pulled the original plat maps. We sent certified letters, lots of them, because paperwork doesn't get intimidated by a blonde woman with a title. Madison tried to hit back. She sent residents emails calling me hostile. She posted a community safety notice with my name on it like I was a wild animal. She tried to push through a legal defense fee assessment so residents would literally pay for her lawyer to fight me. And for a split second I felt that old heaviness again, like maybe she was going to bury me with bureaucracy. Then the electric company scheduled an inspection. And Madison, of course, decided to hold a neighborhood event the same day, some ridiculous winter welcome mixer in the clubhouse parking area, complete with a banner and a microphone and a local news reporter she invited to show how great Brookview was. That reporter, Claire Bennett, had sharp eyes. When she spotted the electric company trucks and the county inspector walking up, she smelled a story. Madison was mid-speech, smiling like a commercial, when Claire asked, "President Klein, can you comment on allegations that this parking lot sits on privately owned land and violates a utility easement?" Madison's smile twitched. "This is misinformation," Madison snapped. "A disgruntled individual is trying to sabotage our community. I was standing back 50 feet, just like the order said, hands in my pockets, jaw clenched so hard it hurt. I called out loud enough for the mic to catch. 'Madison,' I said, 'tell them who's been paying the property taxes on that land for the last 5 years. She turned toward me, eyes flashing, and that's when it happened. A low gurgle like the ground clearing its throat. Then the storm drain cover near the entrance lifted slightly, and water began to rise. At first it looked like rain runoff. Then the smell punched everyone in the face, and people started backing away, shouting, covering their noses, stumbling over each other. Brown water surged across the asphalt, swirling around tires, soaking shoes, splattering the bottom of expensive doors. A guy in a puffer jacket tried to move his BMW and spun out like a cartoon because the surface had turned slick. Madison shrieked into the microphone, "Stop! Somebody! Stop! This! He's doing it!" Claire's camera swung to me. I didn't move. I just looked at Madison and said, calm as I could manage, "I'm 50 feet away." Remember, the county inspector Tom Gallagher walked straight through the chaos like he'd been waiting for this moment all year. He stopped near Madison, flipped open his folder, and said, "Ma'am, this lot is in violation of multiple codes. Unpermitted construction, easement obstruction, improper drainage." Madison's mouth opened, then closed. Tom continued, "And according to county records, this parcel is owned by Ethan Parker." Madison's eyes locked on mine. For the first time since I'd been back, she looked scared. The deputy beside Tom stepped forward. "Ms. Klein," he said, "we need you to come with us." Madison spun toward the crowd, voice cracking. "This is harassment. This is a conspiracy. I'm the president of the HOA. Nobody moved. Nobody defended her. Because it's hard to sell a speech about community order while sewage water creeps toward everyone's ankles and a county inspector reads your violations out loud on camera." As the deputy took her arm, Madison's perfect hair started to fall apart in the damp air, and her voice got smaller, shriller, less like a leader, more like exactly what she was, a bully who finally ran into something she couldn't intimidate. And as she was led away right past the sign that said, "Premium Parking," her heels slipped in the dirty water, and she stumbled, grabbing at nothing, losing her balance in front of everyone. No music, no applause, just the sound of a microphone hitting the ground, and the truth landing right after it. Lesson power only works until it meets proof.